How do you find the various summer constellations? To do this, we first need to understand what we mean by summer constellation. We don't mean the constellation is only visible in the summer, we mean the constellation is visible to us in the evening after the sun sets in the summertime. Of course, you can see other constellations in the summertime if you stay up until, say, 1 a.m. or until dawn, but for normal people who like to sleep and don't typically stay up all night, we focus mostly on the stars that we can see in the evening after sunset. To find some of the major constellations of the summer, we first need a home base, a place to start. So we'll look for a familiar shape a lot of people know, the Big Dipper. The Big Dipper isn't a constellation itself, but an asterism, which is just a pattern of stars in the sky that has a popular name. The Big Dipper is actually part of the constellation we call Ursa Major, the Big Bear. The Big Dipper is fairly easy to find because the stars are fairly bright and because the constellation is always in the north. Can't find north? Then pull out your GPS or compass, or just do the old-fashioned way. Figure out where the sun rises every single day, the direction we call east, turn to the left, and that's north. Alternatively, figure out where the sun sets every day, the direction we call west, turn to the right, and that's north. Somewhere in the northern sky is the Big Dipper. In the summertime, around 10 or 11 in the evening, the Big Dipper looks like this, like it's being tipped over on its side. We're going to use the stars of the Big Dipper to find some other important stars. Let's label the stars of the Big Dipper like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Stars 1, 2, and 3 form the stars of the handle. Stars 4, 5, 6, and 7 form the stars of the bowl. In reality, these stars actually have names, but for our purposes, the numbers will do. Let's start with an easy one. Using stars 6 and 7 in the bowl, continue drawing the line until you come to a fairly bright star. That star is called Polaris, famous because it's currently our North Star. Face this star, and you are facing north. Polaris is also the brightest star in the asterism we call the Little Dipper, which is part of the constellation we call Ursa Minor, the Little Bear. The stars in the Little Dipper can be faint and hard to see if it isn't really dark where you are, but generally people can see at least 2 stars of the Little Dipper, Polaris and the star in the top corner of the bowl, called Kokab. Find Polaris and you can find the Little Dipper, including Kokab. Got it? Good. Now we can use Kokab to find more stars. From star 5 in the Big Dipper, draw a line straight through Kokab, and keep going. Eventually you'll come to a very bright star called Deneb. Deneb comes from the Arabic word meaning tail, because Deneb is the tail of the bright constellation Cygnus the Swan. Think of Deneb as the top of a cross, with a long post of the cross pointing generally towards the south. Using Deneb, you can find the cross and the whole constellation Cygnus. Keep Cygnus in your mind, because we'll be coming back to him. Going back to the Big Dipper, use stars 4 and 5 in the bowl, continue the line through the sky until you come to the very bright star, Vega, one of the brightest stars and one of the most closely studied stars in the night sky. Vega is also the brightest star in the fairly small constellation, Lyra the Lyre. Okay, so now we know how to find Deneb in the constellation Cygnus and Vega in the constellation Lyra, using the Big Dipper. Let's head back over to Cygnus and label the stars with some convenient numbers. Deneb we'll call 1, the cross beam we'll label as 2, 3, and 4, and the bottom of the cross we'll call 5. Drawing a line from 1 through the middle of 2 and 3, and continuing that line down, we come to another bright star called Altair, the brightest star in the constellation Aquila the Eagle. Once you find these bright stars in these 3 different constellations, Deneb, Vega, and Altair, you are looking at the asterism many call the Summer Triangle. Moving on, let's go back to the star Vega, starting a line going straight down parallel to the line made by the long post of the cross of Cygnus. Continuing the line down, you'll come to the star Ras Al Haig, the brightest star in the constellation Ophiuchus, which is the coolest constellation name ever. Keep going and you'll come to the bright star called Antares, the brightest star in the constellation Scorpius the Scorpion. Okay, so we followed the Big Dipper to the stars Deneb and Vega to find the constellations Cygnus and Lyra. We've used Cygnus to find the star Altair in the constellation Aquila. We've then used Vega to find the red star Antares in the constellation Scorpius. Now let's go back to our home base, the Big Dipper, and find a few more. This time we're using the arc of the handle of the Big Dipper, stars 3, 2, and 1. Follow the arc of that handle, continue the arced line until you come to the bright star Arcturus. An easy saying to remember is, follow the arc to Arcturus. Arcturus is the brightest star in the constellation Bootes, which looks a lot like the word booties, but don't get the two confused. Bootes, the ox driver. The main body of Bootes looks like a spike, which is helpful. Just remember another little saying, follow the spike to Spica. Coming down straight from the spike, you get to Spica, another very bright star, and the brightest star in the constellation Virgo the Virgin. So now that you can find Virgo, think back to when you found the star Antares in the constellation Scorpius. Remember, you went down from Vega, passed through the bright star in Ophiuchus, and you came to Antares. So now going from Spica through Antares, you come to the constellation Sagittarius. All of Sagittarius may be difficult to see, so instead look for the asterism in Sagittarius called the teapot. So now you know how to use the Big Dipper in Ursa Major as a home base to find several other constellations and asterisms. The Little Dipper in Ursa Minor, Cygnus, Lyra, Bootes, Virgo, as well as Aquila, the Summer Triangle, Scorpius, and Sagittarius. There's a whole lot more you can see in the sky, but these are some of the brightest summer constellations. Learn more about how you can learn to read the sky like a map by checking out our course for homeschoolers, Experience Astronomy.